Our 35th district conversations continue on here this morning. I've got Dan Griffey on the line. How you doing, Dan?
I'm well. How are you, Jeff?
I am doing okay, thank you. I am seeing that the House Democrats have released their supplemental budget proposal. There is on these even numbered years opportunities to check on the short sessions, to check in how the budget is going. What was in there that you're concerned about? And I'm also reading that the Senate side, their Republican leader is encouraged on their side of the budget proposal. So let's try to get these two together so we have a great supplemental budget.
Well, I mean, that's where we're at, right? There's always two different philosophies. With $3 billion being spent in a supplemental budget, I always find that problematic, especially since we didn't address the tragic underfunding of our some of our K-12 issues that we have, or funding levels with special education. Most of the schools in Mason County are under-resourced schools, and even though there is kind of a balanced funding level, the balanced ability to raise local monies, there's no balance there. And we think that there was a major missed opportunity to fully fund the special needs K-12 education. We think it is important when you have $3 billion in a supplemental budget that you just don't spend it all in one place, that you use the supplemental budget to correct the direction, to fulfill the mission set that the state has, instead of starting a bunch of new or funding a bunch of new. We were able to, in the 35th, get a couple of good ideas. I got a $50,000 budget proviso that was adopted on educating people on the fentanyl use in our libraries. I think that's important. I've talked to you about it many times. I think the more we all talk about fentanyl and the dangers of fentanyl, I think our kiddos are better protected. So once again, I'm going to say, talk to your kids about not sharing pills. Sharing pills is bad and it could kill. And I don't want you to lose a loved one. We're also trying to get a study for our volunteer firefighters on their their cancer occurrences. They don't have a cancer protection plan. What can we do to help them with that? So we're looking at that. We're still digesting it. It was just released to us yesterday. We're definitely not in the room through all of the writing of the budget. But again, it is a supplemental budget. I have some real concerns spending $3 billion in a supplemental budget.
Let's talk a little bit about, so yesterday was President's Day, and a lot of people had the day off. We went to Target yesterday, and I'll be darned if I didn't run into 5 other families I knew that were there with the kids because it's a day off, and gosh, I don't know what we're gonna do with these kids today. So let's go to the store, I suppose.
Target.
Um, let's go to Target. And so we're sitting there talking for half the afternoon.
We're bougie, aren't we, out here?
That's it. That's it. No Saks of Fifth Avenue for us. But like what I was what I want to ask you about is the childcare in the state and how we can help families of all socioeconomic levels when it comes to helping in those types of scenarios. Is there anything in the supplemental or anything in the future that you thought to do any work on for that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a lot more money for supplementing childcare costs. The problem is, it once again, the majority party did nothing to address the supply concern. So, several years ago, the state of Washington changed its posture about how it funds and refunds for childcare putting early childhood learning as the number one um, uh, the service delivery that our childcare centers must deliver. But when we talk to our working families now, they say what they want is a suite of options. And I believe we need a suite of options. Um, it takes a lot of time and money to get certified with all of the early education requirements. I believe, and my seatmate, Travis Couture, and I guess both believe, that we need a system that is scalable, a system that starts out with safe, secure um, facility, a safe, secure, loving, and nurturing, right? So we start out that way. And I think we need to change our certification processes where we have, a base entry level childcare offering, where these providers are now kind of graduating to the full suite of services, by the state just kind of cutting it off and said, no, every center shall be an early education center. We've been too prescriptive, and that prescription has led to a severe shortage. And so we're finding in the 35th, we have huge childcare deserts where there is literally no providers. Or if there's providers, they're underground providers. And I try to tell the regulators here and the people in the majority party that once the system's going to figure itself out, people are going to find ways around it. Either they're going to leave the workforce, which we're seeing happen at an alarming rate, or they're going to find workarounds. If the rules the state has adopted, we find more people try to do the workarounds or try to do the ultimate, and that's drop out of the workforce. Both of them are negative for Washingtonians. We find that the system is too prescriptive. And so we're pushing hard to get a tiered system. That bill didn't move, but again, we're going to push even harder to say that maybe we need to start with safe, secure, loving, and nurturing, and have a suite of options.
So like from 0 to 1, kind of just a babysitter. And then
Yeah,
from 1 to 2, maybe start injecting colors or shapes, I don't know,
yeah.
and then 2 to 3, and then as it gets to the pre-K or kindergarten level, they're ramped up, but the early the youngest of the kids, that they're not going to know colors and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of neat things we can do for early childhood education, but it's also growing the service provider's capability. So again, it was a rip the Band-Aid off approach that the state had and said that we've got to get all these kids educated earlier, which I agree. Early education is very important to adolescent development. However, what happened is most of the small service providers didn't have the ability to keep up with the requirements, and they just folded up shop. They don't provide services any longer. And we know that the underground child care system, that's what the agencies like to call it, it is getting to be a larger amount of the providers that are out there. So the citizens are finding a way, the parents are finding a way around it. And so it is time that all legislators ask themselves the question, have we overregulated this industry to the point where it can't function? And I say, yes, we have. And we have got to change the narrative here. And just as you explained, I think it can be that simple. The naysayers will say, well, every child deserves. Yeah, every child deserves. They also need a parent that has the ability to work and go bring in income so they can provide for their family. They also deserve to be safe and secure. And I think what parents are doing now is engaging in more risky behavior because they're doing everything they possibly can to provide for their families.
Mhm.
monumental problem in Washington State, and we have got to take it very seriously.
You mentioned safety and security, so let's move into the final question here. What's going on, and how are some things moving through the legislature in regards to public safety, law enforcement officers changing in some of the laws that had been reworked over the last couple years?
Well, I mean, exciting news. The majority has agreed to hear the initiative from the people on police pursuit.
Okay.
That we're going to do a joint hearing on that. I'm hoping that that gets us to a um, a solution to this way quicker. We could pass this if we pass that bill this year. Now, it would actually go into effect right away instead of having to wait for the voters to vote on it in November. So I think that is a key uh, public safety possible improvement that we can see come to fruition right away. There are, you know, I'm still really concerned that we're not doing enough for those that survive domestic violence and crime in general. However, we have a really good shot at passing a crime victims bill of rights, which I am really, really excited about. The premise behind that is if it goes into law, which I think we have a good shot at making it in. It's a Senate bill that we're hearing just now in public safety. If it makes it into law, it guarantees at least the same level of support and protection that the perpetrator of crime gets. And right now in Washington State, we've not been seeing that direction. We've been seeing more resources available to the people that commit crime. And I think this is a real step in the right direction. Very excited about that bill. Very excited about the possibility of doing something right and real now on police pursuit. I think that we have got to, on the public safety side, we have got to end the emboldened behavior that I think many have been engaging in because Washington State has changed its policies and laws, I think, way too quickly. And I think uh, with a lack of, good foresight judgment.
Emboldened and right is right. I saw a photo the other day of someone tried to steal the ballot box at the Belfair Library. I don't know if you saw that photo. They put a rope around it or something and tried to just pull it right out of the ground. I mean, it's in the that's right there on Highway 3 in the middle of everybody.
Wanton destruction is something you get when people, I believe, start believing that there won't be somebody to stop them, and we want to make sure that that belief is short-lived.
On that joint hearing of the initiative, is there more opportunity for public input, or because it was signed by the people of Washington, that is the public input?
So anytime we have a committee hearing, there will be another opportunity for public input. Sure.
Okay. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that one for sure. Well, Dan Griffey, 35th District Representative, doing the good work in the 35th for the residents there. It's always nice talking with you. And we're starting to get down. It's not many weeks left here in this thing. So we'll see how it all shakes out in the end, huh, Dan?
Yep, it's almost over. It's nice talking to you, Jeff, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
I will see you soon. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye.